Welcome to A Better HR Business, the podcast that looks at how HR consultants and HR tech firms grow their businesses and how they help their employers to get the best out of their people. Remember, for show notes and downloads, go to www.getmorehrclients.com/podcast. That's getmorehrclients.com/podcast. Okay, let's get started.
Welcome back to A Better HR Business. This is the show where we help HR tech companies, HR consultancies, and work-related businesses win more clients and create predictable growth. Today's episode is all about turning your annual revenue target into the weekly actions that actually bring in demos, sales calls, consulting calls, and new clients. And whether you're running software or consulting business, the process is surprisingly similar. And when you break it down, it becomes a lot less overwhelming. So I thought it might be helpful, and let's just jump straight into it. Firstly, you start with one clear number. Now, most HR tech founders start by choosing an ARR target, so an annual recurring revenue target. Most HR consultancies start by choosing a revenue target. And of course, when I say HR, I mean the full range from diversity and inclusion, employee engagement, recruitment, HR compliance, etc. But that's the HR world as I see it. But most HR tech founders choose an ARR target, and then consultancies go with a revenue target. But both groups face the same challenge, and that's how do you translate that goal into something you can act on this week? So an example, if your average new customer is worth around 18K ARR, so 18,000 across the year, and your annual target is 540,000 as a revenue target, you need 30 new customers. And if you convert roughly 1 in 4 demos or 1 in 4 client sales calls, then you need 120 demos or 120 sales calls this year. And that then works out to about 2 to 3 high quality demos or sales consulting calls per week. So that's a much clearer plan. It's a simple, manageable, and actionable target to aim for, with that sort of smaller number in mind. And remember to check out episode 119, so 119, which is all about a simple 5-step process for growing your HR-related business. Now then, you need to work backwards from the numbers. So once you know your weekly target, so 2 to 3 meaningful conversations, obviously it could be a lot more, it could be less, but let's just work with that number. Then the next question becomes, how do we consistently create those conversations? And this is where many HR tech firms and consultancies either overcomplicate things or try too many approaches at once. So instead, I suggest just focus on getting really good at 2 or 3 core growth activities. And it's not about abandoning the other channels. They still support the plan. So personally, I hate LinkedIn. It's a necessary evil, but LinkedIn posting alone won't bring in a flood of leads, but it keeps you visible. It supports your outbound process. It warms up your paid ads, and it makes webinars and partnerships work better. And the real magic happens when you go deep on a small number of channels that you can truly master, such as well-run webinars or outbound email campaigns done consistently, or partnerships, or speaking to other people's audiences. So choose a small number of channels and commit to becoming excellent at them. Some example episodes to listen to in the podcast. So episode 126, so your marketing options explained, that lists out a whole bunch of different marketing channels and ideas for you. So have a listen to that one. That's 126. Episode 142 is my 5-minute marketing review for HR tech companies. And then episode 131 on how I saved 2 HR companies $5,000 in quick conversations. Lots of ideas in there. Next, you need to add more wow to your onboarding or delivery. You don't have to, but I think it really helps improve your retention, your referral rate, and so on. And so whether you're selling software or consulting, clients stay longer and refer more when the experience feels clear, helpful, well supported, and easy. And a wonderful book to check out for this is called The Power of Moments. That's The Power of Moments by Chip Heath and Dan Heath, 2 brothers, Chip and Dan Heath. And that explains how small intentional improvements can lift the whole experience. So these wow elements might include referrals, retention, conversion rates, upsells, and overall satisfaction. They're the end results, but they're little things you do just to give that sort of wow that people really enjoy working with you as a business. And it's one of the simplest levers you can adjust, and usually it's free or very low cost. Some people do it really well, but most tend not to think about it. Now, the next step is to improve your lead nurturing. And it's critical. But most businesses skip this. You probably heard of the classic 7 touch points before someone buys, and that idea gets repeated a lot. But really, it's closer to something like 28 to 62 touch points for someone to make a buying decision. The 7 touch points thing is more for B2C, but for you in the B2B world, it can jump to more than 60 touch points, especially if you're selling consulting or HR software or anything with a considered buying process. I sold or got a client, a national firm, offices right across the country, but it took more than 12 months, and you can imagine the number of touch points and steps involved in that. But imagine if I did not have that follow-up, that lead nurturing process in place, I would have completely lost that national deal. So yeah, more than 60 touch points in B2B is kind of normal these days. It's kind of scary. But there's the other challenge is that, and I read this recently, the HubSpot statistic of 57% of the buyer's journey is over before anyone speaks to you. So prospects are judging your posts, your website, your emails, your follow-up, your webinar content, your podcast episodes, even the tone of your reminders before they even book a call to talk with you. And that's why the nurturing matters so much. So if you're not nurturing, then you're losing deals quietly before the conversation even starts, before you even are aware that they might be interested in becoming a customer or client. So the next step, and I would recommend go checking out the HR Growth Engine, and that definitely helps with this process, and it helps you staying consistent across all those touch points. So HR Growth Engine is a process or a platform we've built, and it helps HR consultants, boutique HR firms, and early stage HR tech companies. And it does a bunch of very cool things. It captures new leads from LinkedIn, Facebook, networking, and your website. It nurtures leads automatically with helpful HR and workplace content. You book more discovery calls and demos without manual chasing. It can keep conversations alive until a decision is made. You can stay visible without needing to show up constantly. It can bring old leads back to life. You can centralize your emails and SMS and forms and landing pages and calendars and all that stuff. Basically, you can run a predictable client acquisition system instead of random bursts of effort that kind of drain you and so on. So do check that out. That one is HR Growth Engine, and you'll find that on the Get More HR Clients website. But in conclusion, across the years, I've helped HR tech companies and HR consultancies grow in all sorts of practical ways. Some picked up new sales leads daily through low-cost Facebook ad campaigns. Others filled webinars with hundreds of ideal prospects who later became clients. Many launched podcasts or thought leadership series that opened doors to new customers and partners. And personally, I love that one because it's got so many spin-off benefits and people enjoy doing it. Different businesses, different stages, but the pattern is the same. When the numbers are clear and the activity is focused, growth becomes predictable. Finally, if you run an HR software company or an HR-related consultancy and you want help turning your annual targets into a simple, repeatable growth system, feel free to get in touch with me at getmorehrclients.com. That's all for today. Thanks for listening, and I will see you next time.
Thanks for joining us today on A Better HR Business, the podcast that explores the world of HR consulting and HR tech businesses. For show notes and downloads, go to www.getmorehrclients.com/podcast. That's getmorehrclients.com/podcast. Remember to subscribe and share the show with any friends who are busy growing a HR business. Thanks, and see you next time.